Welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be exploring the world of men's rights advocacy in India.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and we've got a whole bunch of articles and website content that we've been looking at,
Okay.
focusing in particular on the Save Indian Family Foundation. They seem to be kind of at the forefront of this movement, and they're tackling all sorts of issues, like dowry harassment allegations, the whole, the complexities of custody battles in India.
I see, yeah.
It's a topic that I think, might surprise some people.
Yeah, how so?
Well, we often hear about women's rights in India,
Right.
but what about the challenges that men face within the family law system?
That's a really good point.
It's something that's not talked about as much.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So what have you learned about this Save Indian Family Foundation?
Well, they're also known as SIF,
Okay.
and they're really trying to shine a light on these issues.
Makes sense.
And their mission statement on their website is very clear.
What do they say?
Men's human rights need to be protected.
That's powerful.
It is, and it makes you wonder, what are the specific challenges that they're seeing?
Yeah, like what kind of stuff are they actually dealing with?
Well, SIF is tackling a lot of complex issues
Yeah.
within family law in India.
Okay.
They're particularly concerned about false dowry harassment allegations, cases of domestic violence against men,
Wow.
and what they see as a bias against men in custody disputes.
I see.
And, they're not just working within India.
Really?
I noticed that they hold an international conference for men's issues.
So they're connecting with people from around the world.
Exactly.
Huh. So this isn't just like an isolated movement then?
It seems to be part of a broader trend of men's rights advocacy
Interesting.
that's happening in lots of different cultures.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how that would be a thing.
And what's really fascinating is that you see similar challenges,
Oh, yeah.
similar arguments being raised, even in countries that have very different social structures.
So, like, are there any common threads or anything like that?
Well, it makes you think about the universality of some of
Yeah.
these issues,
Definitely. Yeah.
So I thought maybe we could dive into some of the specific legal challenges
Okay, yeah.
that SIF is highlighting.
Sure.
And one that really jumped out at me was their focus on Section 498A
Oh,
of the Indian Penal Code.
okay.
And they even have an article on their website titled Section 498A Legal Extortion.
Oh, wow. Okay, so to understand their stance on this, we probably need some context.
Right.
So what is this law all about?
Well, this law was originally put in place to protect women from dowry harassment.
Which, I mean, is a real problem.
Absolutely a very real problem.
Yeah.
However, SIF is arguing that it's become a tool that can be misused,
In what way?
leading to false accusations and even exploitation.
I see.
And they have some pretty compelling stories on their website from men who say they've been unfairly targeted by this law.
Like what kind of stories?
Well, one man talks about having to travel constantly for bail hearings,
Oh, wow.
racking up huge legal fees,
Yeah.
and just the sheer emotional toll of being accused of something that he says he didn't do.
So it raises some questions about, the balance between protecting victims and ensuring due process.
Exactly.
I mean, while the intention of the law is good, SIF is highlighting how it can be twisted and used against men without proper safeguards.
Right, and that's something they're actively campaigning to change.
Makes sense.
Then there's the whole issue of custody battles.
Okay.
SIF claims that there's a family law and custody bias against men in India.
And what do they think is causing this?
Well, this is a complex issue with deep cultural roots.
Yeah.
In India, there's a strong tradition of children staying with their mother after a separation or divorce.
Right.
And while this might seem natural to some,
Yeah.
SIF is arguing that it often leads to fathers being unfairly denied custody or even visitation rights.
Wow.
So they're really pushing for a system that promotes shared parenting
Okay.
and equal rights for both parents. I can see their point. One story that really struck me was about a father who went on a hunger strike
Really?
to protest being denied access to his children.
Oh my gosh.
That's a pretty extreme measure.
It is.
And it speaks to the desperation some men feel when they're shut out of their children's lives.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Absolutely. And this brings us to the concept of parental alienation,
Parental alienation.
which SIF talks about quite a bit.
Okay.
It's the idea that one parent might deliberately try to damage the child's relationship with the other parent.
Oh, wow.
And this can have a devastating impact
Yeah,
on both the father and the child.
of course.
And it's something SIF is trying to raise awareness about.
That's really sad.
It is definitely a difficult and emotionally charged issue.
For sure.
And then there's the tragic case of the Bengaluru techie who took his own life.
Oh, gosh.
The Tribune article mentions the note he left for his son, just saying justice is due.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. And this case, while not directly related to SIF, does highlight the broader issue of men's mental health.
Right.
In the context of family law disputes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure, stigma, and often a lack of support for men who are going through these challenges.
It makes sense that SIF is trying to address that then.
They are, by offering counseling services and creating a sense of community for men who are feeling isolated.
That's good.
It's really important work that they're doing.
Yeah, it's clear that this case really brought the issue of men's mental health into the spotlight.
Yeah, definitely. And, SIF has an article on their website
Oh, really?
titled Men's Health, the Forgotten Issue,
Ah,
which kind of suggests that this is a problem that's often overlooked, right?
makes sense. I mean, societal expectations of men,
Yeah,
especially in a culture like India's, can make it really difficult to seek help when they're struggling.
right. There's this pressure to be strong,
Yeah, to be the provider.
to not show any weakness.
Exactly.
And that can really prevent men from opening up about their feelings.
Especially during like a separation or a custody battle.
Yeah, it's like they're just expected to suck it up and deal with it.
Right. But that can be so harmful in the long run.
Absolutely. And that's where SIF is stepping in,
How so?
trying to create a space where men feel comfortable talking about their mental health challenges.
So, like, what are they actually doing?
They offer counseling services, support groups, workshops,
Okay.
all aimed at breaking down those barriers
Mm.
and encouraging men to seek help.
That's great.
It's really important work.
Yeah, totally. And, it's not just about providing emotional support.
Right.
SIF is also working to change the laws themselves.
Okay.
They're particularly vocal about the potential for misuse of Section 498A.
The law that we discussed earlier.
Right, the one that deals with dowry harassment.
Right. They seem to believe it's become a weapon in some cases.
Yeah, their argument is that it's often used as a tool for revenge or financial gain, and that men can get trapped in a system that's really difficult to navigate.
And they've collected numerous stories from men
Oh, yeah.
who say they were falsely accused
Wow.
and had to endure lengthy legal proceedings, even imprisonment, before they could clear their names.
That's intense.
It is. And it sounds like they see this as a systemic problem, not just a few isolated cases.
Right. They're pushing for legal reforms
They're-
to make the law more balanced and to prevent it from being used against men unfairly.
Okay.
And they're also advocating for the creation of a men's commission in India.
Like similar to the National Commission for Women.
Exactly, which would focus specifically on men's issues and advocate for their rights.
That's an interesting concept. Do you think that would be a positive step?
It's tough to say. Some people argue that it would give men's issues more visibility
Yeah.
and provide a platform for their concerns to be heard.
Right.
Others worry that it might create further division between men and women.
I see.
It's definitely a debate worth exploring further.
Definitely. And speaking of exploring further,
Yeah.
SIF's website also mentions something called the silence of the gentleman.
Huh. I'm curious about that. What do they mean by that?
Well, it's a phrase they use to describe the societal pressure on men to suppress their emotions
No.
and avoid showing vulnerability.
I see.
And they argue that this silence can actually be really harmful to men's well-being
In what way?
because it prevents them from seeking help when they need it.
Yeah.
And it just perpetuates a cycle of suffering.
So it's like they're saying that traditional notions of masculinity can actually be harmful.
Exactly. And they're challenging those norms
Okay.
and advocating for greater emotional intelligence among men.
Interesting.
They believe that men need to be more open about their feelings, more willing to seek help,
Yeah.
and more engaged in family life.
It seems like their work is about more than just legal reforms then.
It is. They're really trying to change the whole conversation
About
men's roles in society.
That's a really great point.
They're tackling these issues on multiple levels,
Like,
from the legal to the cultural to the personal. And they're connecting with other men's rights groups around the world
too.
to share strategies and build a stronger movement.
It makes you wonder what the impact of all this will be in the long run.
It's hard to say for sure, but I think SIF's work is definitely bringing these issues to the forefront
Yeah.
and forcing people to think about men's experiences in a new light.
Right.
And that's got to be a crucial step towards creating a more just society for everyone.
Totally. And they're providing a voice for men who might otherwise feel silenced or marginalized.
Exactly. And, they're challenging this assumption that men don't face significant challenges within family law systems.
Right. Like they're saying that men have rights too,
Yeah.
and those rights need to be protected.
And they're backing up their arguments with real stories from real men who are struggling.
That makes a big difference.
It makes it so much more powerful.
For sure.
This is a lot to think about.
It is.
It seems like we're just scratching the surface of a very complex topic.
Absolutely. And there's so much more to explore, but
Yeah.
I think it's important for our listener to take a moment to reflect on what we've covered so far.
Yeah. Let's pause here for a moment.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts on the challenges that SIF is highlighting? What resonates with you the most? And what questions are you left with? It's fascinating how SIF isn't just focused on these legal battles.
Right.
They're also looking at the bigger picture of,
Yeah.
how societal perceptions shape these issues.
Absolutely. And they actually delve into how media representation, specifically Bollywood,
Wow.
often portrays men in a negative light.
Really?
Especially husbands.
Interesting.
And there's a whole article on their website titled Bollywood Hypocrisy, Defaming Righteous Husband and Glorifying Adulterous Relations.
Wow. What does it say about that?
Well, they argue that these portrayals contribute to the biases that they see within the legal system and society at large.
It's like they're saying that these narratives, even fictional ones, can have a real impact on how people view men.
Totally.
And their roles in families.
Yeah. Exactly. And, they believe that these negative portrayals contribute to this idea that men are inherently less trustworthy.
Oh, okay.
Or less capable of being good parents.
Which can then influence things like custody decisions.
Exactly. Or public opinion during legal battles.
So it's like they're fighting a battle on multiple fronts then.
It is. They're challenging the laws, societal norms, and even media representations.
Wow. So they see it as like a multifaceted problem.
Yeah.
That requires a holistic solution.
Exactly. And they're not just trying to win a few legal cases. They're trying to shift the entire narrative around men and masculinity in India.
It sounds like they're advocating for a pretty fundamental change.
Yeah.
In how men are perceived and treated.
That's a really key takeaway here. This isn't just about tweaking a few laws. It's about changing hearts and minds.
So getting people to see men as complex individuals with their own challenges and needs.
Exactly, and that requires open dialogue, a willingness to listen to different perspectives.
And to challenge our own assumptions.
Absolutely, and that's where SIF's International Conference for Men's Issues comes in.
Okay, how does that fit in?
Well, it provides a platform for activists and experts from around the world to come together, share their experiences, learn from each other.
So it's about building a global movement for men's rights.
Exactly, and it's recognizing that these issues are not unique to India.
Right. They're being faced by men in many different cultures.
Yeah, it's really about amplifying their voices.
And creating a space where they can feel heard and understood.
Exactly, and it's a reminder that change doesn't happen overnight.
It takes time, persistence.
A willingness to challenge the status quo.
And sometimes it takes those radical acts.
Right.
Like that hunger strike we discussed earlier.
Right.
It really shows the desperation that some men feel when they feel like they've exhausted all other options.
It's a powerful reminder that behind these legal battles, behind the statistics, there are real people with real stories and real pain.
Absolutely.
And their struggles deserve to be acknowledged and addressed.
Regardless of gender.
Yeah.
It feels like we're moving towards a more nuanced understanding of these issues.
I hope so.
Recognizing the complexities and the need for empathy on all sides.
That's the hope, isn't it? To create a society where we can have these difficult conversations with compassion and understanding.
Where we can acknowledge the challenges faced by both men and women.
Right.
Without resorting to like a us versus them mentality.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our shared humanity.
And working together to create a more just and equitable world for everyone.
Well said. It's about moving beyond the stereotypes and the assumptions and just seeing each other as individuals worthy of respect and dignity.
That's a powerful message to end on. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a few questions to ponder. What resonated with you most in this exploration of men's rights in India? Have you gained any new insights or perspectives? And most importantly, how can you apply this knowledge to your own life and your interactions with the world around you? Think about the themes of empathy, equality, and open dialogue. How can you be a more compassionate and understanding individual, regardless of the gender of those you encounter? Because true progress starts with each of us recognizing our shared humanity and working together to create a more just world for everyone. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope it sparked some important reflections and inspired you to continue exploring these complex and crucial issues.